there. I'm SharonRolph, and my company is called Effortless Vitality. Welcome. I want to inspire you to share, like, and subscribe here because you might love what I produce for you because I want to help you think and grow and love yourself in a whole new way. And I I make these little art blocks because put words of wisdom on them. And one of the things I collected here, um, uh, probably about 4 years ago, was this. My sister, in fact, had been loaned by her son a John Maxwell book on leadership, and he said he's got 5 questions that he encourages people to learn or know about themselves as a leader. Well, I think knowing ourselves better is an excellent way to spend your time and even your vacation, your reading time. And the first question he asked was, what makes me sing? So this is my What Makes Me Sing audio video that I want you to dream a little and remember some things about you that just make you so unique. And that's um, valuable to me. I want to bring out the best in everybody. So the second question is, what makes me cry? Hmm, cry. What makes me cry? What makes me dream? If you've had a long time since you dreamed, that's what we're here for. What makes me excel? That might be things that you can do that nobody else can do, or maybe you've been in competitions for, or what makes me proud of myself might be another way to say that. And the last question that John Maxwell presents for people is what makes me different? And oftentimes I think when we're kids, we're so pressure to be like everybody else that we don't want to even own the fact that what makes us different. Well, in my case, I think what made me different was the trauma that was being lived in our family without anybody talking about it. And that often does impact um, our lives for decades. And I'm coming out of my shell by being colorful today. That makes me different, right? Okay, so I hope I'm going to encourage you to be curious and explore the possibilities because that's my subtitle to my book. And Fresh Courage in Retirement, Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. And that fulfillment is such a vital part of life because it gives us meaning and kind of anchors it. And that's why I'm here. I've started using a new term in my business, unfinished contributions. And maybe what we're going to cover here today brings up some memory of some unfinished contributions. So I'm going to read this is a ebook that is in fact available on the Great Discovery platform. And because so many people like to see things in video form, I decided to share this for free on video that you could then share with others. So I picture a world where boomers, seniors, elders are excited and engaged globally and doing good and making the world a better place. If I could wave a magic wand, that's what I want. Now, that's pretty big assignment, but I'm stepping up to the plate. So I have my secret sauce course currently is Discover Your Inner Spark. I call it Discover Your Spark, Rekindle Your Joy. So when you discover your inner spark, you will feel whole, authentic, and energized to share your wisdom in meaningful activities that make an impact, your unfinished contributions. So I'm going to ask all kinds of questions here, and you probably might want to stop the video every now and then to jot some notes down because you might want to come back to them and dream a little. That's what it's all about here, okay? Who could you possibly become in the near future? Like have a new lease on life. You you could start paying attention to the quiet nudges and with respect and gratitude in your heart. You could start teaching the value of gardens. You could start connecting with others, working to solve an animal dilemma. Uh, Animals are pretty much, what do you call it, skipping through life free, but they may need some help. I mean, I'm just really touched when I see videos, reels, talking about animals that get tangled up in our plastic that's in the water and they need to be rescued. So that would be an animal dilemma. Who could you follow a hunch, or could you follow a hunch about animal potential? I'm seeing some pretty amazing reels about animals, especially like dogs. They seem to be more aware of an impending something happening, and they jump to help save or rescue us before we even know what's going on. But you could follow a hunch about animal potential. I think we have something to learn there. Could you imagine start singing to prisoners? I'm learning more and more about how music has an element of healing, and I'm going to start playing music more often on a daily basis. I don't know about daily, but say every couple of days because of the healing value. So prisoners probably need a new perspective on life that comes from your heart communicated through singing. Could you imagine you start identifying as a nature story? That was one of the excuse me, one of the steps in writing our essence or spark statement was making a short story about how I'm like a hemlock tree, or I'm like a uh, cedar tree. I can pretty much pick out cedar trees, but I'm not very much of an expert yet. But because uh, I would love to hear people's answer to a nature story. All right, who could you possibly become in the future, near future, by remembering to focus on your top three love to-dos? I could I could improve on this one too. Uh, Weekly, focusing on my top three love to-dos. I haven't been quilting for uh, 3 years maybe, and I'm starting to say, how could I get back to doing my sewing and quilting? That's a love to do. I lose track of time when I'm sewing. You could start wondering how sweet life could be in the areas that have lacked focus and purpose in your life. You could start wondering, pondering how sweet life could be in areas that have lacked your focus and respect. That could be lighthearted. It could be very deep too. You could start creating learning tools. Learning tools. This could be like for preschool or elementary school or uh, preparing people for retirement, for other um, international, global people too. You could start reading and researching a long time wish. A long time wish. I wish, I hope for the day that I get to go to Holland. I love tulips. So a long time wish is to travel, make a trip to Holland. New Zealand would be the second place on my list. And I have watched a video or two of New Zealand. You could start designing things like a water art fountain that could be put in yards and parks. Yards and sparks. Parks. I keep saying that wrong. Um, so many people love the moving water. And in fact, I've learned a couple years ago that when water is stale, if you pour it back and forth into co containers, it enlivens it again. Maybe, all the streams that are around us, and it's it's fresh when it's in motion and flowing. And I think people enjoy water fountains are a great deal. Could you start designing them? You could become curious about how innovative you could be and how you can do more of what you love to do. How could you do more of what you love to do, even if you're working 60-hour work weeks? Where there's a will, there's a way, my mom taught me. All right. Who could you become possibly in the near future? Could you teach a natural instinct you have to others? That leaves the door pretty wide open, a natural instinct. Um, I can't think of any ideas about that, but you might be able to. Can you imagine participating in talent competitions? What would your talent be? Hmm, what would your talent be in a competition? Imagine using music to create harmony in race and diversity relationships. I saw a video, I think I've seen it a couple times of like 40 to 60 people together in a room, and I'm not sure that they were singing, but I kind of imagined that they might have been. And it was such a mix of races that somebody came up and had done some research and connected a couple people that they didn't know that their cousin was in the same room. And because they were all doing music, they had something in common. And here, using um, the ancestry research, this guy introduced people to relatives they didn't even know existed. And I just, that touches my heart a lot. So I'll take a break here just a moment to say that I'm a behavioral scientist and a Spark coach. I was a Fresh Courage podcaster on the Transformational Talk Radio, and that was audio and video. And Maximize Retirement was my podcast on Spreaker platform. And I have created the Discover Your Spark, Rekindle Your Joy on the Great Discovery platform. Things that are out there that I've put out for other people to learn about themselves and love and appreciate who they are. I think the more we know about ourselves, the better competition we are for AI, and knowing how, then recognize how we're different in ways that AI will never, I doubt, will ever come to replace us. And I have a book called Fresh Courage in Retirement: Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. Okay, I I retired back in 2016, and my first struggle was knowing if I was productive. There's nobody here to tell me if I'm productive. I started bouncing off the wall, and I didn't have a boss anymore. And so the question became, um, what what would matter in my day? And I made a wall hanging of my essence or spark statement, and I put it up on the wall behind me while I did my podcasting. And one day I came over and read it 3 times. Oh, when I live from what matters to me, every day feels right. Every day feels right. There's no more question about it. So I began living out of my new fulfilling and meaningful life. And that's what I'm hoping you embrace, desire, and want to live authentically from the perfect way that you were made and created. Here's some more. Imagine watching the students you mentored graduate from high school and feeling fulfilled with Christmas joy times 10. That was a story of one of the people on my podcast. He had been mentoring third and fourth grade, was it second, third, and fourth, something like that. He mentored them in math or reading, and he got the biggest fulfillment about seeing those kids grow up and watching them walk across the stage to receive their diplomas as a high school graduate. Um, can you imagine doing that over 10 or 20 years? And what a deep fulfillment that would be to you, that you had a part in their success. Now, it was planting seed and waiting for that harvest to happen, which is what I'm doing. I want to harvest the best that's in you. And I almost was choked up when he told that story, because his joy was times 10 every time that happened. Okay, imagine raising funds for new toys for hospitals, for children's hospitals. Imagine raising funds for toys for children's hospitals. Imagine designing new playground toys. Imagine teaching songs or tricks to cats and dogs. I love to take biscuits out on my walk to feed the dogs when I'm on my walk. So I haven't used biscuits to teach dogs anything, but there's one dog that's pretty introverted, and he never wags his tail. And boy, I love seeing dogs wag their tail. He's coming out of his shell a little bit, because he's probably was treated bad at some point along the line. Imagine teaching plant or flower classes after school. Imagine writing a family memoir. Imagine healing all your relationships. Imagine leaving a historical legacy. I think the only legacy my dad worked on was was he's a carpenter, so he ordered a kit to make a grandfather clock, and I think that kind of became his legacy. But there's lots of ways to think about a historical legacy. Okay, just a few more here. Imagine feeling so much healthier because you found a place to fit in and to matter. Feeling healthier because you found the place to fit in and to matter. Oh, I haven't told you the story of how these imaginings came up. I was flying back from having been a speaker at a women's conference in Phoenix, and I often like to think looking down on my problems when I'm in an airplane is a pretty cool deal. And so I started writing out these 48 imagine kind of statements while I was flying back from Phoenix, Arizona, to help you think about what I want to crack open that curiosity for you in your life. Imagine leading a project to provide intergenerational travel experiences. Imagine spending a year of community service in your favorite country. And how would that change you? This reminds me of the first lady I interviewed. She did community service projects around the world for a year. And she fed baby lions and she helped out at a baboon sanctuary and sang Imagine to a group of Chinese college students and wound up writing a book about it, Smiling at the World. That excites you a little bit? Imagine seeing an Irish dance competition. This is one of my favorites. Imagine experiencing Christmas in Germany. And I imagine that uh, quite often. I haven't done it yet, but that's something I like to imagine. Who could you possibly become in the near future? Imagine becoming a park guide in Yellowstone Park. Imagine following the migration of monarch butterflies. I read a story of somebody that did that in the Guidepost magazine, and I was fascinated with their experiences. I, I could I could do that, I think someday. Imagine creating a butterfly attractive garden and becoming a city tour bus route on a city tour bus route. Another book I read was yeah, was it a movie or it was hmm Pearl. The guy's name was Pearl, and he worked at American Can Company, and he did the topiary of trees and shrubs and all that. And he became an attraction that the tour buses would stop on. And the whole process was built on rejuvenating dead trees or plants that had been tossed out by nurseries around his community. And he brought them back to life again. And even employed uh, high school students that had been struggling and help repurpose them in a healthy and vibrant way. All right. Imagine becoming a sardine specialist, any kind of specialist, but sardine kind of stretches it a little bit, doesn't it? And this is really outside the uh, your your typical box thinking. Imagine touching all 7 oceans or hiking in Brazil. And as I made these, I wanted something that could be as simple as something you could do every week at home or with uh, touching the water, that could be, that could take a few years to accomplish, but it might become your legacy. Imagine teaching kids a personal trait or a guiding principle. I just mentioned, I think the guiding principle, where there's a will, there's a way. How could you teach that to the next generation? Imagine noticing birds singing. Imagine changing the life of someone who wronged you to get a college scholarship. That stretches your mind a little bit, doesn't it? I've heard of it happening though. Imagine teaching a trade to 5 gang members uh, and how it could change you. And I still have some left over. Okay. Well, I included a quote here by Oprah. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. I want you to spend some time thinking about what excites you. Imagine fundraising for a prosthesis group. Imagine creating a mini park in your neighborhood. Imagine learning about local native trees. Imagine scouting out animal habitats. Like, I want to know where the birds sleep at night or out of the rain. Imagine noticing fragrances and replicating them. And here's another quote I have on one of my blocks. Cherish forever what makes you unique. All right, just about 5 left. Imagine joining a club focused on your top value or hot button. Imagine seeing or growing orchids and fuchsia farms. Imagine hearing the Boston Philharmonic in a Christmas show. In fact, the book, The Art of Possibility, her husband was a Boston Philharmonic conductor. And they took a group of kids to high school kids, I believe, to Brazil on concerts. And I got to hear a snippet of that event on the audio that I was listening to. And it just made me so delighted to imagine, because they went with only like 2 what do you call it, uh, where adults that help make things happen. I, anyway, all right. Imagine making clothes for a shelter or curtains for a school. That would be sewing. Yeah, I know somebody in my community here that made curtains a um uh, for a nonprofit school in another country, and all the experiences that went along with it. She might still be doing it. And the last one is imagine tasting French pastries in France. I'd like to do that too. I love pastries. Yeah. All right. So I come with a couple more questions here that are imagine the warm memories you'll collect and savor by living from something that excites you. What are some of those things? And what do you want to be? I think it's fascinating that we don't know what we want so many times. So I'm poking you. I'm shoveling the dirt, what's bringing the dirt more alive, or the water, or whatever we're thinking of. What are some of the things you'd want to do from all the inspiration in the pages that I've covered here? Your new future can start here. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to discover in 90 days, 6 weeks, 12 weeks or less, your inner spark, so you feel whole, authentic, and energized to share your wisdom and your purpose. It's such a precious thing. You're the boss. It's your time to shine. And I'll have a bunch of resources on the bottom of my video here. And I'm trying to encourage you to be courageous and curious, and remind you to subscribe and like and share. And I'm out to impact 10% of the boomers. I hope you join me in your personal growth. Thanks for listening.